very quick second to welcome everyone to Brownsville School. We decided to host this evening for you. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our PTA. This is technically the event. I just want to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. And
Hi everyone, my name is Abby Gargiulo, and I have the pleasure of being your PTA president this year. Next to me is Stacy Mangello, our president-elect and our president for next school year. I'd like to take a minute to introduce our board in the back. Melissa Kacharis, Kathy Leopold, and Cindy Mullen. Wendy Mighty could not be here. I just wanted to say thank you. They are instrumental in the PTA and in making this evening possible. To go over the format for this evening. The candidates will each have a few moments to introduce themselves, and then we will go directly into our question and answer segment. Questions have been submitted in advance and will be read by a moderator, myself. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. We will rotate each question, meaning we will start with Mr. O'Neill on the left and move to the right. I'm sorry, Mr. McIntyre. I apologize. I need to stand up front here. All right, I'm putting myself front and center. How's the camera? Okay, I apologize. So we started with Mr. McIntyre, and we're working our way to the right. The next question will begin with Mr. McVeigh, and so on and so forth. Please note, we've received many repeat questions. In order to expedite the evening, we have grouped like questions together. Some questions have been reworded to allow each candidate an opportunity to respond. We're going to try to get through as many questions as possible, but our time is limited. We will stop at 9 o'clock or after the last question, whichever comes first. This evening is meant for you to get to know the candidates. It's not an open forum. Questions will not be entertained from the floor. If you have follow-up questions for the candidates, you may contact them at a later date. The Board of Ed election is on May 17th at the high school only. It's the same day as the budget vote. Anyone who voted at Brownsville or other location, please take note. It's at the high school only on May 17th. And that's it. Without further ado, we're going to start with Mr. McIntyre. Could you introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Kevin McIntyre. Some of you already know me. I've been in the district for 42 years. I have been a teacher at Washingtonville. I was a teacher for 32 years, came back for another, so I'll say 33 years. I was a science teacher at the high school. During that time, I'm very involved in the school activities. I live in the town with my wife and 2 children, 2 sons. One 24 and one 17, who's a junior in the high school right now. Let's see, where do I go with this? I'm still pretty active doing things, even though I've been retired for 10 years. I still work with a Boy Scout Troop 316 out of South Blooming Grove. Started that troop about 3 years ago. We now have 27 boys in it that we're working with. And I've got let's see, with that, I've also, the last few years, I've been traveling the country. It sounds really good, but I've been traveling the country teaching teachers. So I've been working with a company whereby I've been in many different schools, some very, very well-to-do, lots of money, and some that basically it was Title I grants that got us into the school to work with the teachers to try to help get kids engaged in the classroom. I've always been pro students in terms of like making sure that we give them the best possible education possibly. I know that basically that's part of the job, and so with that, one other thing too, for all those faculty members, teachers, and staff members here tonight, since this is Teacher Appreciation Week and Day, I'd like to thank you for your continued service, and hopefully we'll see what happens, but hopefully we'll get to work together.
name's Jeremy McVeigh. I'm don't have nearly as many years, 14-year resident of Washingtonville. I have 3 school-age children, 12, 10, and 6, love them to death. I'm a West Point graduate. I served our country for about 9 years in the Corps of Engineers. Got my MBA from the University of Maryland. I'm currently a manager for Con Edison and Orange and Rockland, so I'm embedded in the community here. I also sit on the board of directors for the Purple Heart Hall of Honor, and I am involved in the community primarily as a coach, as a sports coach. I've done CYO basketball, baseball, football, and soccer.
Good evening, my name is Corinne Cody. I'm a resident of the district for 21 years, and I grew up in Monroe, so I went to Woodbury, so I'm not a stranger to Orange County. I had 2 children go completely through the Washingtonville School District. They're now graduated. They finished in 2010 and 2006 and gone on to college and are off on their own, off my payroll. And it's a wonderful thing, but I do miss them. My business life, I'm a CPA, a certified public accountant in Middletown. I work for a local firm, so I do a lot of audit work and tax preparation, things like that. I'm just coming out from my tax season rock. And so I do have a lot of business experience. A lot of my business networking is in the area. And I've done a lot of community work too, and community involvement. Pat Ryan can vouch for my involvement in the swimming community. I was a referee for 10, 15 years and involved as a treasurer in a number of swim boards. I'm still very much involved in the school district since 2005, when the state mandated audit committees for every school district. I've been on the audit committee, and with my background in business and CPA, it's been useful, and it's been a great learning experience. So I have a very good working knowledge of what goes on in the business side of the school district, and especially the audit, the financial statement side. I've been the chairperson of that committee for about 5 years or so. So that's what and the reason I'm running is because my children are gone now, I have a little more time, and I got rid of a couple of those volunteer jobs, and I was been approached a number of times to consider it, and this time I said, okay, and then 7 of my closest friends decided to do the same thing. So I hope to work with you, and that's my story.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here today. I have been a resident of Orange County for over 40 years, a resident of the Washingtonville School District for about 15 years. Moved here after a decision my husband and I made that it was important for us to move into a community where a strong sense of commitment and family, as well as one that the school system was strong and would be able to support our children so that they would be productive adults when they left. My daughter currently is a junior in college. She too is pursuing a career in teaching, elementary education, special education, and I have a son that is a junior in the high school. I have been teaching for 26 years, 12 years in Newburgh as an elementary school teacher in various grade levels. Currently, I've been working in the Washingtonville Central School District, and I am a teacher of reading and math, AIS. I work with children who have needs. I have many different roles that I've played throughout the years, and currently this one is supporting those children who have difficulties and need support in their learning. So in that, I've had many years of experience of participating in 504, CSE meetings, and in coming here, noting that all of the reasons why we chose Washingtonville is because of who and what the teachers and the community was in the school system was. In that, I felt that, again, I was approached, and I felt that my experiences would help to lend itself to giving some positive input into helping us move forward. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's John O'Neill, and I've been a resident of Washingtonville and now Salisbury Mills for the past 23 years. I have my 2 children are Washingtonville graduates, and I have 2 grandchildren who are current students in Washingtonville. And I also have a shy, withdrawn, under-the-radar wife who has some sort of position in Little Britain. They tell me it's the principal. I have been employed by the New York City Department of Education for the last 44 years and 4 months, but no one's counting. The last 23 years has been as a HR director, a human resource director, and just some of the responsibilities are staffing schools, grievances, state certification issues, and on a daily basis I interact with superintendents, school building leaders, central administrators, unions, and legal staff. And through the years, I've developed a knack to deal with some interesting personalities, to say the least. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Joe Bonamy. I'm a current board member. I've been on for 2 terms. I'm running for my 3rd term. 15-year resident of Washingtonville. I have 2 children, one that is already went through the school district and one that's in 10th grade. I'm a food service director at a local school. I began my career with the board as a original member of the audit committee in 2005 with Corinne after the state had created the rules. And I felt it was a good segue, and a year or 2 after that I jumped into the board. I'm really all about the opportunities for our kids and keeping things going. There's some projects that we've recently gotten the okay to go for. I'd like to see those through to completion. I just think that the experience that I have and the experience that I can get can just bring us forward a little bit more. Thank you.
Well, how do you follow that up? There's 6 great candidates up here. My name is John Coughlin, and I've been on the Board of Education for 9 years, 3 terms, and I'm up for re-election, and I'd like to do it again. Some would ask why I do it. It's not the pay, but it is a passion. It's a passion for education. It's a passion for community service. It's something we instill in our kids and our family. Every member of our family does something in the community, and this is my role and my contribution. I have 3 kids in the district. My oldest is graduating this year and will attend the University of Delaware on a rather large scholarship in great thanks to the education she received here. My other daughter, Sydney, she'll be a senior next year, and we've begun the college search process there. And she's looking forward to her senior year and all the benefits and exciting opportunities that my oldest daughter went through. My son, John, is an 8th grader this year, and he'll be moving on to the high school next year. And he's looking forward to doing junior ROTC as a highlight. This year he was Eugene in the middle school play, so if you've had an opportunity to see that, and you know who Eugene is, and you know my son well. We've been residents of the Washingtonville community for 25 years. I myself am a lifelong resident. I grew up in Maybrook. I grew up in my great-grandparents' house. I have roots in the community that go back over 100 years. I attended and graduated Valley Central High School. I went to Mount St. Mary College in Newburgh. I worked for 23 years at IBM. I worked for IBM in the United States, in Paris, Singapore, Australia. I've been around the world with the company, most of which was actually right out of my home. Like many things in IBM, I was part of a downsizing, and I suffered through about 1.5 years of unemployment. So I can relate to a lot of people in the Washingtonville community that suffered a loss of job for an extended period of time. Very hard to get back up and figure out what you want to do. I was very fortunate enough to find an opportunity with the Ford Motor Company. And I worked for the Ford Motor Company, going out looking for government contracts, government, municipal, and school contracts in which to self-service and parts from Ford too. So I spend a lot of time and effort in contract negotiations, understanding contracts, reading through minutiae and the details. I'm a very data-oriented person. Anyone who knows me, that's seen me on the board, that's attended a meeting, knows that I usually ask the hard questions. I'm usually the guy up here that, if anything, will make people feel uncomfortable, not because I'm trying to make people feel uncomfortable, but I'm asking the hard questions that need to be answered. I'm about transparency. I think it's very important. The goals that the board has, this year alone, the goal on communications, I was very adamant about that we have that goal and we move forward to become better communicators. So, and I look forward to tonight. Thank you very much.
Without further ado, it's going to move right into the questions. Mr. Nizzabi, can you hear me? Okay. Many parents cannot attend board meetings, but are very concerned about what is discussed in ASTEP meetings. Many districts throughout New York State videotape and post Board of Ed meetings on their school website. Would you, as a Board of Ed member, advocate videotaping and posting upcoming school district board meetings?
I would definitely be an advocate for videotaping the board meetings. I think anything that we discuss for the good of the children should be out there in the public and people should be able to see it. I think communication is one of my strong points. I deal a lot with different shops and whatnot, and we have to kind of go through this communication issue where we try and figure out a way to best communicate with a large number of people who are not sitting in the same room at the same time. So if videotaping is the method that we choose, and that's great, we can also elaborate and come up with other ways of communicating with the community.
I agree. The communication is key. And anytime I've been on projects, in some volunteer things, if there's an issue, if you communicate with the people, they are still maybe not like the answer, but at least they'll feel like they're not being ignored. And I think I recall a number of times I've been at board meetings when I was on the Little Britain PTO. We used to go to the meetings, and people would say the strangest things. I mean, it seemed strange to me because I was somewhat familiar with what happened at the board, but they really didn't have the opportunity to get any information. So videos and the way we have social media now, it should be easier for the public to find out what happens at the board meetings. They are public meetings, and everybody's got busy schedules. We're a commuter area, so I would encourage the best kind of communications that we could have.
Yes, I too would also support the videotaping of meetings. However, the cost is also something that needs to be explored, because it's my understanding that it is a very expensive venture in which to invest in. It's important to make those communications, and there's no problem with having those meetings videotaped and shared with the public. However, I think we also need to look into some other ways that we can share some of the information that we're having, such as the email systems announcing on about the board meetings and the work sessions, informing people of exactly when they're having them, as well as sharing some of the board minutes over the email. So yes, there isn't a problem with videotaping and sharing the information out there. However, the cost and how people are going to be viewing it, where we're going to be sharing that information, is also something that we really need to think about. Thank you.
I agree that videotaping would be essential to get the word out to the public. As a commuter myself, I leave at 4:30 in the morning, and quite often I'm getting home late in the evening, and that would be a great opportunity to keep me abreast of what's going on in the school system. I think it's essential. I think that there are a lot of people who just can't get out. They have a lot of responsibilities, and it's a great way to keep everyone tuned to what's going on.
I think it would be a great idea. I think a lot of people now are re-employing themselves, and some folks have a longer commute than they've had before. It would just be a great opportunity to let them see what's going on. Plus, at the board meetings, there's a lot of other great things that the kids are doing, and performances and things like that. And it would be really cool if the public can see that.
I absolutely support recording the meetings. Any way, shape, form possible to get the word out. I think it'd be a great opportunity for the Blue and Gold TV Club to attend board meetings regularly, videotape them, maybe put them up as podcasts, maybe put it over the internet. I know that they broadcast the graduation over the internet. I agree with the cost concern, but I think there's an opportunity. We have some really tech-savvy kids out there, and there's a great opportunity for that club to expand into a news reporting activity or assignment that they could put up, even highlights. Take that hour meeting and boil it down to 4 or 5 minutes that you could listen to on your way to or from work. Be a great opportunity.
No problem whatsoever. It's like the faculty meetings. It was. You had to be there. Anyways, I think we're all in agreement with that. To be honest with you, I have no problem being on camera. They see me. And I think the key word that I think Mr. Coughlin mentioned was an opportunity. And there could be an opportunity basically with using the kids, with maybe perhaps looking at some career opportunity down the line, that it could be in conjunction with that. Because now that, and who knows what in 10 years technology is going to be like. I mean, I would never predict, we were even talking about this right now when I started teaching, with the mimeograph machines and all that kinds of stuff. Oh, please, I shouldn't go back that far. But at least what happens is, with all the opportunities the kids could have, and we can have with the teaching moments alone, and yes, and letting the community know exactly what's happening in the school to keep them as informed as possible. How many of them actually read anything in the newspapers? I'm not one.
That's the 1 minute warning.
Okay, next question. During the public comment period at District Board of Ed meetings, some attendees ask questions or address concerns. Washingtonville Central School District does not include public comments in the Board of Ed meeting minutes. Many school districts in New York State include public comments in their board meeting minutes. Would you encourage the Board of Ed to include all public comments on the meeting minutes?
Without knowing what the comments were, I guess the public comment would not be responded to if it was of an executive in nature, where it couldn't be communicated to the public, maybe staff-wise or things like that, or contract things that may not be able to be discussed. But general questions, I can't imagine why we wouldn't want to share that, because there's probably other people that weren't at that meeting that may have the same concern or question. So just in general, I would say we could probably, we probably want to share that. I wasn't aware that we did not.
Yes, I would support those comments being recorded in those minutes. I am one of those people who have spoken many of times at the board meetings and have requested that. I think it's important that, yes, we're talking about being transparent and we're sharing information. We're leading to the point where we're talking about videotaping, which is a great thing, but we haven't gotten to the point where we're recording exactly what's going on in the Board of Ed meetings. And many times I've heard people make comments that they're addressing certain things that they've spoken to before. But there's no record that these issues have been brought about. And in that, people do not feel as though that they're truly being listened to, and that what their opinions are being valued, or that their concerns are being addressed. So yes, I do support that those comments will be written down in the Board of Ed minutes. Thank you.
I also support that, in my experience, communication is important, it's critical, transparency is critical, and people need to be aware of what's going on and what's being said. Actually, not having information out there creates more problems. It causes and stirs up rumors, and the best way to diffuse rumors would be to get the actual information out there.
I definitely support it to the legal point that we would be able to do it, and to pragmatics. Sometimes people in the comments, they go, we would almost have to have it recorded, because I don't think one person could do like a shorthand kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely good, like for the redundancy, so that if people do have a question, they could always go back and see and research it and actually answer their own question. I think for that it'll be great. And transparency is always awesome.
I'd like to see it recorded in the minutes. I'd like to go further and basically have the Q&A form that we do around budget season on the website available year-round, and collect and aggregate questions that the community has. And if a question is raised at the board, that question and its corresponding answer to the legal end that we're allowed to respond, personnel and student issue specific can't, but to the limits that we're allowed to respond, not only respond in public, but respond and report on that website. The minutes as they are now, they're very cut and dry. They're basically reporting out the motions that are made by the board, the action that the board takes. It doesn't get into the dialogue between the community that the board has on a regular basis. Again, I use transparency a lot because I'd like to see more interaction and dialogue with the board. And one of the things that I thought of that I'd like to move for is move the board forward, and it's under that communication thing I was talking about, is I would like to move the meetings around more frequently to the different schools.
No, I think that would be a great idea, especially if there was a search possibility on there, whereby if it was on the website, whereas any sort of community member could wind up like searching whether or not a certain issue was raised at some point, and maybe what the comments were, or general comments. Sometimes you can't put them exactly word for word how the comment is stated, but so that this way that they know that it's been addressed, or where it got to at that point with a community member maybe addressing one issue, and where maybe the board, if it was searched, where the board may have addressed that issue at a later moment or a later time, so that they can follow that.
I think it's a little silly that we're actually having this conversation about whether the questions at a board meeting can be published. I think it's clearly yes. We're representing the constituency that elects us to the board. Not everybody can be at every board meeting. I think those questions that people ask they may not be relevant to you. It may be something that's educating you on something that's going on somewhere else in one of the other schools, and you want to bring it up to your school and have it addressed at your school. So I think it's almost a silly thing that we're not already doing it.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The Washingtonville Teachers Association has been making phone calls in support of 3 Board of Ed candidates. How do you feel about special interest groups supporting or not supporting a candidate?
I think we all have people that are supporting us out there. There's different groups, different factions, different community organizations we belong to. I think in that is that you're not just supporting a person because of who they're affiliated with, but because of their belief systems and how they what things that they'll be able to contribute to the board. And myself in particular, which I'm noting I am one of the people that are being supported by the teachers union. But in that, I look at, yes, I am a teacher and I'm very proud to be a teacher, but I'm also a parent and I'm also a taxpayer. And the first thing that comes to mind is when I look at who I am, and yes, I'm proud to be a teacher, but I'm a parent. And what I want is what's best for children. And I've advocated for children my entire life, which is why I chose this profession. And I believe that is why the teachers union has supported me. Thank you.
Well, to make this easier, I am another person who is being supported. So rather than just repeat a lot of the things that were just said that I'm in agreement with, the bottom line for me is I would assume that one of the reasons I'm being supported is because of my passion. I've been doing this for my whole adult life, and I think I give it a different perspective. I'm not a curriculum person. However, I have dealt with curriculum people, all titles actually, and I think that makes for an interesting view on how things are run. I've worked for central administration. I've worked for district offices. I've gone through so many reorganizations and met great people and not so great people, and I would like to believe that I'm being supported to give that other perspective.
I think any special interest group that supports any candidate should be backing kids 100% first. I think a diverse school board is a better school board. I think if we have everybody coming from one area, we're going to go looking in that one area. I think everybody on the school board right now brings something so different to it that it makes it so awesome working with everybody. You could go into a meeting with an opinion and somebody else can just show you the light, and it's so great to have that opportunity. Being one person on a board is good, but you really have to work with your other board members, and you have to respect them and you have to listen to them, because their opinion could be the right opinion, and that comes from diversity.
Well, I'd like to say it pretty much says it all in the title, special interest. I respect their decision to not support me. I've never had their support in the 9 years that I've been on the board. Whatever those reasons are, they have never been shared with me. I've never been approached by any member of any collective bargaining unit here or in the district to discuss my views or my opinions and get my input. So special interest is clearly special interest.
And I'm the third member of this trio. All right. For the last 10 years, I have been asked a number of times to run for the Board of Education, and for 10 years, well, for 9 of those years, I've said no. I've said no for a lot of reasons. Certainly, I'm very involved in a lot of things. But I did make it clear. I said, and they know. The people who asked me basically know the way that I was as a teacher. I don't necessarily agree with everything that's done. I have my own opinions on things at times. I've been known more as sometimes as a teacher rogue, doing things in my classroom and with my kids that basically didn't always get the support of everybody. But I did what was right for the kids. And I know that they know that whatever decisions I make are hopefully going to be right for the students and for the community. That's the foremost thing. I'm a member here of this community. I own a house here. At some point in time, my kids will be gone and we'll be moving. I hope the house is as valuable then as it was some years ago. And that depends on your school system.
I have to admit, I'm also supported by a special interest group. It's the families, it's my kids, it's the parents that I coach with, the parents that I play sports with. Those are the folks that I consider to be my special interest group. I don't agree with a special interest group that necessarily has a certain agenda, having more pull on the board than anybody else. That's the way I'll leave it. I have my own special interest group and I'll keep them.
This is a political year we've seen like none other on the national level, so why should Washingtonville be any different? And that this isn't the first time this has happened in the history that I've been here, and it's okay. Everybody can be encouraged and illuminated and learn about the candidates, and it's great to see such a good turnout here because that tells me that there's a good number of people who want to know who is taking an interest. Diversity on the board is excellent. I work with a lot of nonprofits, and the best boards are the ones that have a mixed variety of backgrounds. I've been asked a number of times over the last few years to consider running, and I like Jeremy, had turned it down, but that was because I didn't have the time. Being on a board is a major commitment. It's not just about one agenda or one issue. This district and every other district is faced with big issues every month, every year, and they're different. So that's why I'm running.
What influenced your decision to run for the Washingtonville Central School District's Board of Education?
I'm wondering right now what that answer is. Okay. Well, I plan to retire actually next month. And this is my opportunity to give back to a community that I moved to 23 years ago as a single parent. 2 children and scared, and had to commute back and forth to the city, and it was amazing how the community took us in and helped me raise my children. So with my experience, I haven't lost the passion for what I do. I've lost the passion for the commute. So I'd like to continue doing what I do, working with children and working with school personnel. I think I have something to offer. I'd like to think I have something to offer. And this is my opportunity to give back. So that's basically why I've made that decision. And also, this community supported me when I needed support, when my son served 2 terms, served twice in Iraq. And how can I thank you for that? So that's why I'm here.
The reason I'm running is I'd like to continue serving. I'd like to finish the projects that we've started. I love my community. I love being part of my community. I love giving back to my community. And I just think that with the experience I have, it's a good fit. I think I'm a good active member of our board. I'm definitely fair and respectful. And if you'd have me, I'd love to serve another 3 years.
Same here. I bring the 9 years of experience that you develop maneuvering through New York State education law, federal education law, SED law, and understanding the dynamics and the political environment we're in, having dialogues with our local politicians, inviting them into the schools, and knowing them on a first name basis is important in education right now. I've experienced serving on the policy committee, the audit committee, the facilities committee, and a lot of those things I'd like to see through as well. We put in place a 4-year facilities plan. I would definitely like to be a part of that. and I have a passion for this board, I have a passion for this community, and I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, and I would like to continue the work that I've been doing. Thank you.
All right. I guess one of the main things that pushed me and myself in going for this is the fact that we have a lack of a superintendent right now. And we need an educational leader. We need somebody who's going to be able to take this, all the changes that are going to be coming down. There's more changes happening. I know we've been through the other things like Common Core and ELA, math changes. Social studies is coming down. Science is coming down the pike. I'm working right now over in Westchester with a science program over there with an elementary program for this new science, next generation of science standards that are coming through the pike. And one of the things I'd like to see a lot of is I'd like to see a little bit more support for the training of the teachers to make them more effective in the classroom with the kids, with all of these things, and to give them the support so that the kids have the right education there, instead of maybe finding out like a couple of months into instituting something that it's now time to train the teachers, train them ahead.
So I'm not currently on the board. I just found that I needed to educate myself on what was going on, what were some of the issues in the community going on with the school board. I educated myself. I read both pros and cons of things like Common Core, taxes, trying to understand both sides of the issues. And the only thing that influenced me to run was I looked at it and said, if the public wants another option, who else but me? I might as well try and do it. I'm a fairly educated person. I feel like I work hard. I might as well try and run.
I'm a strong believer of giving back, and both of my girls received excellent educations here, went on to very respected universities, and are doing very well. And I also spent a lot of my time, the last decade or so, giving back to the swim community, because the swim community gave a lot to my girls, and I gave back. So now they're gone, and I finally got myself mostly out of the swim community. So I have the time to dedicate, and I know there's a major commitment to being on the board. So I did not want to entertain that when I was running in 10 directions and to every school function and every sporting event. Now I have the time, and I want to do that, and I have the business background. I think I can provide an awful lot in terms of the business support and understanding of business. We're a school. We've got over 4,000 students, 3 buildings, or 5 buildings, 3 big pieces of property. It's a business. It's a major $89 million budget. It's a business. So, and I think I can add to the board members on that.
What motivated me to be up here tonight? As I stated before, I moved to Washingtonville because of the school district. I have 2 children, 4 years apart. And to look at the 2 children that have come through the school district, it's like they've had 2 different experiences. My daughter had the experiences of field trips, music programs that were intact. The difference now, from what I can see, and working in a school system that's successful, we spend less per pupil than any other district within the county. We're top rated. Part of a successful team, and every day I would go into work and I would see the opportunities the students in my building had. I mean, a 2nd grade class will go on 6 field trips a year. The resources we've had. So over the years, I've done things behind the scenes where I've spoken with the assistant superintendent of curriculum, brought things that were working in our district and shared them. Because as teachers, we network and we do those things. In attending the board meetings, I've noted that the morale is low, and there needs to be a respectful, professional relationship between the parents, the administration, the board members, and the teachers. Because if you don't have that, you aren't going to move forward. We're not going to be back where we were. And this Washingtonville deserves the best, and our children deserve the best.
2 of your superintendent search. If round 2 is unsuccessful, what qualification, quality, or concern will you be looking for during the interview process for the next superintendent?
Let's hope the next one doesn't fail. But if it does, and we have to go back out, I think one of the top things for me is somebody that's student-centered. Opportunities for the kids, I think, is the most important thing. That's basically why we're here. And I would hope that, that would be the number one trait I would like to see. Also, visibility and communication with the community, I think, is detrimental. The budget, from the budget to the programming to everything, I think they need to consider all the players and all the stakeholders, and I would hope that they could communicate well with all of those folks. That would be my starting point.
For me, it's someone who's going to fit within the Washingtonville culture and climate. There's a lot of diversity in this community, end to end. I think the buses cover something like 89 miles of road every day to transport students. It's a big area Washingtonville is, and the next superintendent has to be somebody that is going to fit and work well with the community. That's key. That's what I'm looking for. It's community, it's how they work well with the staff, how they work well with the board, and how they fit in Washingtonville. That's the number one characteristic and trait I'm looking for.
I've been looking for somebody with some vision. We need somebody who basically has educational training, or I'll say pedagogy behind them. It's easy to find a lot of managers out there who know basically how to fiscally run a school district, but there's a lot more to it than that. In fact, it is about the kids, and it is about the minds that we're working with. It's about building an educational program from K through 12. It's about winding up like getting the teachers trained, because if you want student achievement to happen in school, the only way you're going to get that is by having trained, effective teachers in a classroom. And I watch student teachers now for Oneonta College. I've been watching for 7 years. And Oneonta is a great school. I would never, but what I noticed about this is, and those of us who are teachers know this, that when they train you in any college, college could be a really great college, you get out in the classroom and suddenly it's a brand new experience. And what we need is an effective inductive program in the school system that basically helps to train the teachers to make them more effective in our classroom and move that vision, whatever that superintendent might have and the administration might have, but move that forward, involve the teachers as professionals.
Kevin's answer of an inspired vision of a superintendent. I think that's great. To have a great vision, that is a wonderful thing. But they've got to be able to communicate it and delegate it and work with their staff to be able to push that vision forward. Having the vision, great. Pushing the vision forward, a whole other ordeal. And it takes a lot of hard work. I would look for a superintendent who's kind of demonstrated that in some smaller roles. Whatever those roles may be, they don't have to have been a superintendent before. I want to see a child-first mentality with a demonstrated ability to have a vision and to delegate and to develop that vision in their staff.
I think the next superintendent, we certainly want to have somebody who is really very well-rounded. Obviously, their first, the important piece is that they're very student-centered. That's our goal here, is to get the best education possible to children from a wide variety of talents and backgrounds. And communication needs to be of the utmost to be able to communicate with the board, teachers, parents, the community, and be very approachable, to be open and approachable. I think that the more you can you see if somebody who's in a superintendent or a management position, if they can communicate well with everybody and they can understand and listen, more things get done.
The first thing I would be looking for is commitment. If we're going to have a superintendent, a leader in Washingtonville, we're going to need someone that's committed to Washingtonville. I do not want to see my tax dollars being spent again on a person that is using this as a stepping stone where they're only here for a couple of years and we're now paying out monies for their retirement. We need to be looking for someone who's committed to Washingtonville, the community, and the school system. In that person needs to be honest. Honest with not only the community, but with themselves, in that and being reflective in what is working and what is not working. And have the courage to be able to admit that and to move forward and communicate with others and brainstorm ideas and how we're going to solve our problems. And it is very important to be up there and cheerleading all of our strengths, which there are many. But we aren't going to continue to grow if we don't define what it is and what our vision is for the future.
When you last, they don't leave you much. I think it's critical, though, from my experience, and that's been for a while, that the educational leader of this district has to have a successful record for running a school building. I've seen a lot of very bright people try to lead a district, and they have no sense of what it is to run a school building. All the intangibles that go on, all the variables that occur on a day-to-day basis. It's not just dealing with the academics, but all of the things that go on with families, with the teachers, to motivate, to understand that everyone has issues, and the students require so much, and it's very important for them to understand that on a daily basis, it's not just reading, writing, and arithmetic, that so much more is going on within those classrooms and those school buildings. So I think it's important. I mean, obviously they need vision, they need to communicate, but I think it's important for them to understand what goes on a daily basis with everyone that's in a school building.
If you were forced to eliminate a program from the district due to budgetary constraints, how would you make that decision?
We've been very fortunate in Washingtonville that in the 9 years that I've been on the board, we have not had to eliminate a program that I remember or recall. We've been very fiscally responsible in terms of managing our budget, the capital piece, the capital component, the administrative component, and even our current spending plan. We're able to stay well under the tax cap with a very modest increase in our budget based on the funding that we receive from the state, the federal government, foundation aid, and the tax levy. So that would be something that I would not look forward to having to do, because how do you pick and choose program? That's the last thing. That's the most important thing a board has, is to maintain program and opportunity for the students. It's our number one goal, and it's been our number one goal since I've been on the board.
I'd probably try to find out where there's maybe some money that we could find in some other areas to wind up getting before we wind up taking out programs. I can't think of one program that I would wind up saying that some child doesn't benefit from in this school district. Everything from music to art to science, to math, there is, yes, there are the ones that the state mandates, and you must have these programs in there. But there's so many kids, you know, to say that we're just a school that's going to educate those kids who are going to be math and science and college oriented, and those are the only kids we're going to take care of. I find some other way in the community to wind up like taking care of, if we had to eliminate something, to find out where the community could help out, to wind up like picking up that program some other way. And I don't know the answer to that one right now, but I would work my buns off to try to find something.
So I think the question actually was, if you were forced to eliminate a program, how are you going to go about that? It's got to be a systematic process. It can't be, my kid is doing these classes or this particular program, so I'm going to keep that. I know a kid that's in that program, so I'm going to keep this. You have to be objective. You have to look at, you have to obviously get input from everyone that's involved in the school, and you have to be objective with some criteria that you identify. And then eventually, if it comes to that, right, clearly everybody is going to do everything that they can to keep all the programs, but if it comes to that, whatever program is identified through that objective criteria is the one that eventually, if I was forced to cut, would be cut.
And cutting programs would have to be one of the biggest challenges to a board member. And you'd have to prioritize everything, because all our students know they're all different. They don't all understand math, science, and English the same way. So every program we have suits somebody differently. So cutting a program would definitely be the challenge. Prioritize, find out where the most harm would be, and eliminate that, and work your way down. But I would not want to, hopefully would not want to have to see that.
It's a difficult question. There's really no right or wrong way of answering that question, because you have to deal with the situation as it arises. Yes, there has to be some criteria that you would look at to, and hopefully do where it would be do the less harm, even though it's going to affect someone. Somewhere you have to make those cuts, and we do that in our households all the time, where you're making choices about how you're going to address those issues and what you're willing to give up and what is necessary. And in that, you would just have to really approach it in the same manner as just addressing what is available, where you can make the cuts and where it can do the least amount of damage, and hopefully have the support of the public in trying to address and brainstorm and be creative in trying to find alternative ways to address the issue.
The only way to do it is to prioritize and go with the program that will be the minimal hit. Hopefully the type of program that would be a temporary cut, something that we can continue to work to find a way to bring it back as quickly as possible.
It's a hard one. I would love to say that we could figure it out and that we wouldn't have to do it, but reality sometimes hits. I would look at the program itself. I would look at enrollment. I would see if there's a way we can duplicate what's being offered in that program and another program. I'd get together with the teachers. I think their input would be priceless on it, on trying to figure it out. And again, I just think that we'd have to be creative, and the more diverse we are, the better and more creative we can be.
What do you believe are the primary responsibilities of the Board of Ed, and what attributes do you possess that will allow you to be successful at these responsibilities?
Well, the primary responsibility is to the community, to make sure that basically the school system that really is the heart of our town is functioning properly and fiscally correctly, that the kids are getting a program, and that the superintendent is carrying out that program